Welcome to the Dream Job Podcast. Marcus Took here, and today I am sharing a chat with a guy that I've really enjoyed getting to know and hang out with over the past few years, Lance Zierlein. Lance and I met several years ago during the NFL Network's coverage of the Scouting Combine, and if you're not familiar with Lance, he is a sports radio host in Houston, and he's also one of the NFL Network's draft analysts, a job that requires him to spend literally hundreds of hours locked in a room watching football tape. In fact, we're kind of coming full circle here because we are taping this episode inside my hotel room at this year's NFL Combine. Now, one of the things that I love about Lance is he's kind of a jack of all trades. He's the son of a former NFL coach, so he's got a unique perspective into the world of football, and he covers sports, obviously, with his radio gig, but also as a food and cooking connoisseur, an avid TV and movie fan, and much more. And I think that's part of what's made him successful in his radio career, the ability to talk about and share aspects of his life with his listeners in a way that is funny, relatable, and entertaining, which also makes him a good guest on a podcast. Lance, I don't know how to start this, so you got to bring us in.
What's your podcast called?
The Dream Job. Is it a bad sign when a guest on your podcast doesn't know the name of your podcast?
Welcome into The Dream Job. I'm your co-host, Lance Zierlein, here on the Marcus Took podcast called Dream Job from a hotel room in Indianapolis on a mic stand that just came in today from FedEx.
That's not at all weird. Well, the name is The Dream Job Podcast because I think for a lot of people, they would say you have a dream job. You get to broadcast to, really, let's be honest, hundreds of thousands of Houston area sports fans on a daily basis with your unique brand of both sports commentary and just really a take on life.
It's really the everyman show. If every man is the most learned sports person and food connoisseur, television, Netflix critic.
I feel like that is both an odd Venn diagram and yet perfectly appropriate. People who like sports is one circle. People who like food, that's like kind of like people who have hands.
Everybody, yeah.
Yeah, and then the Netflix. People who like good TV shows and movies. That's three random yet significantly overlapping circles.
But it's most of the country. You know what I mean? Like, well, most, I shouldn't say most of the country. It's a large percentage of, start with one, sports fans. Mm-hmm. Sports fans, some are going to like food like we do, and some aren't going to, whatever the case may be.
True.
But one thing I've learned over doing radio, so I started when I was very young. I had a morning sports talk show. And I learned, I'll never forget, I started in the spring of 97. And by December, my radio host at that time, who had been around, had done television before, but this is his first radio gig, he said, dude, you got to be yourself. You got to be you. Be who you are. Don't worry about it. Because we were kind of getting...
Were you doing Casey Kasem impressions?
No, we were just getting beat down by management because we were doing fun stuff. And then they told us that's not what people wanted. And really, we were on it. We were right. But... And once he said that, then I was doing my imitations. I just was me. I was my personality. And the one thing I've learned over the years is that some people will tell you to stick to sports, or they'll tell you to do this or get back on sports. But the fact is, even the people who are listening, they will watch Netflix shows, or they go to the movies, or they have kids who are in Little League Baseball, or they have, something that you say is going to resonate with them, and you become the person that they know. I'm somebody in their life in Houston. In Houston, I'm a part of a lot of people's lives because I've been their morning routine for like 2 decades.
So is that a dream job? Is that something
Absolutely.
That when you were younger, you were like, this, I want to aspire to this. So this is what I want.
My dad was a football coach at University of Houston when I was 8 years old, and we would listen to sports talk radio and a little bit. There was not a lot of it. Interestingly enough, there was a show, and this is in like 78, 79. There was a show called Martini and Edmonds. And Edmonds was a guy named Mike Edmonds who ended up actually hiring me for my first radio gig, which is a weekend slot, which is basically a non-paid gig, but it still got my foot in the door and I did something with it. But Anita Martini was a female sports talk host, something you don't see a lot of.
Wait, when was
now? This is in the late 70s.
Yeah, that's
It was
random.
way ahead of its time in Houston, no less, which was, much more conservative with probably and there was no such thing as 24-hour sports talk at all back then. But it's absolutely a dream job. And when I was a kid, I'd be up in the stands of a game, and I would like cup my hand to my ear, from my mouth to my ear, so that I could hear, and I would do my own.
You were broadcasting the game to yourself.
That's exactly.
So let's do
here's the
the rest of the podcast just like this.
And I used like a 1940s voice, like, "Hey kids, it looks like on the field is Mickey Quartermouth. He's a quarterback here from El Campo Rice Birds, and in the off season he likes to do some farming and insurance sales." And
just a bit outside.
hey kids, Pall Mall, get a cool smoke after school. All the coolest kids are rolling it up in their sleeves today. Have Pall Mall and a stick of bubble gum. The 30s and 40s.
Brought to you by Colt 78 Malt Liquor.
Brought to you by those voices, by the way. Can I just?
They never age, never get old.
What? They didn't talk like that. Why was that the voice of the 30? I watched a video. It was a long time ago. There was a Babe Ruth video where Babe Ruth had moved on from the Yankees, like they were getting rid of him, and they were interviewing kids on the street, and it was like watching, and it was from whatever, the 30s, and it was like watching Little Rascals. It really was. And they'd say, Tommy, what do you think? The Babe's headed out. And he goes, hey, I don't even care about the Babe anymore. It's time for somebody else. Like this hardened, working in a coal mine voice of a kid who's, with years in a
Who knew sweatshops changed your voice so much?
I mean, little kids had these voices. I'm thinking, is this a real thing in the 30s and 40s? Did kids really talk like this? But
well, go watch any movie from the 30s or the 40s, and you've got that like weird stilted Atlantic accent. I'm not going to the beach. I swear I'll never go. You can't make me. That kind of weird affectation.
I read an entire article. We might have read the same article about where the Atlantic. It's called the Atlantic, or transatlantic, or the
Something
Atlantic.
like that.
Yeah, there's a particular tone of the voice that was very particular to Hollywood, as you mentioned, back in the 40s and 50s. And I read that article because I was like, this is a brilliant article. I never thought about that. And then somebody made a YouTube piece, which was much easier for me to, watch instead of reading. Who was
the Breakfast at Tiffany's actress? Audrey Hepburn. I feel like her sister, Katharine Hepburn, was the one who was the epitome of that.
Was Clark Gable too?
Maybe,
probably.
Sure.
I don't know, something like that. I'll tell you what, though, in all seriousness, I do have two dream jobs, and I'm really rare that I have two. I have my radio job, which people would murder me for that job. If you told somebody,
that's why you have the bodyguards.
Yeah, that's why I have bodyguards here. Even here, I can't. We can't let up. If you told somebody, if you murdered him, you could have his job, I would be dead. Because my job is a lot of fun. I talk about sports, and there's a lot of people, and I've always recognized the fact that there's a lot of people out there whose jobs suck. They hate their jobs. They're miserable. So I never want to take my job, A, too seriously, or B, get too bored with it, because it is a really good job. The ability to sit and talk about the Rockets and the Astros and LeBron and whatever the topic is du jour. And I also know people they would love to have that job, and people who are going to work are going to jobs a lot of times that they don't love, that aren't that fun. Maybe they've got heavy stuff at home. Like my years of doing radio, I had a guy reach out to me and tell me his son drowned, and he was having really depression, and he asked how I did it whenever I got divorced, and I just talked about how difficult it was. I talked about it on the air, when you don't get to see your child as much anymore. And then that stuck with him because he got a divorce, and he was worried about, his child. And then his child, when he wasn't in this guy's care, drowned. And he's just like, he reached out to me. And that's when I realized, it's really heavy, but it's a lot of fun stuff, but there are other people who their life is really heavy. And when they're listening to me, I need to have energy and I need to be fun. And if I'm not being fun, I need to be thoughtful. And I need to voice what the people are thinking. I mean, I want it to be mine. I want it to be authentic, but I need to give people a voice. And even if you disagree with me, at least I'm creating a voice that you can disagree with. But my job is to be on the radio side, is to be your morning cup of coffee. I am your ritual. Me and my co-host, John, for example, in this particular case. So we understand that we're your ritual in the morning. And when you change people's morning ritual, or you change any ritual, you change the television channels, it's not the same channels you're used to going to. People don't respond well to that. We're all creatures of habit. And so I want people to have fun, but I also want to understand that there are a lot of people out there who have some tough things going on in their life. And it's up to me to recognize what I'm doing is supposed to be fun. And I have to recognize that. And on the draft side, it's the same thing. I mean, there's so many draftniks out there who would love to have the opportunity that I have. And it's a lot of work. I don't even know if they know how much work it is, but I'm that rare guy who has, I've got 5 kids, I got a beautiful wife. I work my tail off. I mean, I do the radio in the morning. Right after that, I get to the draft stuff. So I'll put in 70, 80 hours a week from November until the combine. But I try to keep perspective when I'm really grinding and I'm getting tired and I'm like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. I don't know if I can do this anymore. It just takes a little, self-reflection and looking around me to say, yeah, I'm pretty lucky.
But I think you bring up an interesting point there. So I'm sure you've had jobs before where you would look at the clock and you're like, I can't wait till 6. And I haven't had a job like that in a while. I
had one job like that ever.
Ever? And what was it?
I worked at I waited tables, and then one of the managers at this restaurant who I liked a lot, he ended up getting hired by a car repair place. And I was like 24 at the time. And he said, hey, why don't you come on? I said, I don't know literally nothing about cars. He said, it doesn't matter. It's a high-end place, and they really want people who are good with customer service. And waiting tables, you're good at waiting tables, your personality. So I went over and did that. I really didn't make good money at all. It was terrible money. I worked hellacious hours. I knew nothing about cars, which actually did factor in when people would ask me questions. And I was miserable. What was my resume? I created like a very soft resume. I was only 23 or 24 years old, and I'm going to send letters out to places. And I got on at WQAM in Miami, which is a pretty big station. It was a night show, a guy named Jeff Rimmer. I got on in Houston with a show who I knew. I got on in Baton Rouge and a place called Michigan City, Indiana. And I ended up getting something with a national station, which now come to find out, those places need to fill basically content all the time. But that was a great way for me to hone my craft. The first time I was on the air, I thought I was going to hyperventilate. I mean, I could barely breathe. I was so nervous. But the more I did these shows, the better I got. And I realized I would never want to do, I couldn't do a 9 to 5. I couldn't do an 8 to 5.
But so you got the job at the car place. You're looking at your clock. You're like, this is
with
not
nothing.
for me.
I quit with nothing.
I have to do something else. But yeah. I think that whole, for whatever reason, it feels like it's a binary though. It's the jobs where you look at your watch, I got to get out of here, and the jobs where you look at your watch and like, oh man, I've been here that long. Yeah, because I kind of want to keep going. Like that's,
and you can still be tired. Like my draft stuff. Look, I'm working 7 days a week. I go up on Saturdays. I'm working on Sundays. Now, not the whole time, but for about 3 months, there are plenty of seven days a week. And yeah, you get tired and you're like, ugh, what a grind. But it doesn't mean you don't like it. And there's a lot of people who really like their jobs, but there are times they get worn down. That's called life. Yeah. That's called life. I also have 4 kids at home. I have a wife. I mean, I've got to prep for the morning show. I got to watch the Rockets or the Astros on TV. I mean, it's a lot. But I'm not going to sit and complain about it to anybody because, like I said, people would literally murder me to have my jobs and what I'm doing right now. So I don't take it I promise I don't take it for granted.
No,
it doesn't mean I don't
get,
I get grind it down. I mean, it's hard work.
Well, there's a fine line too between, I don't know if it's a complaint, but an acknowledgement of the stress and the grind and all that comes with that, and this is the worst. This is terrible. I don't want to be here. And I think, that lesson I learned a long time ago, that it's so much better to be at the place, to be doing the thing, than it is to not.
You learn, yeah. And sometimes what was your lesson that taught you that?
Oh, well, for me, I know starting my career, it took me a good solid year to find my first consistent on-air job. Great job. Was there 2.5 years, climbed the ladder, was able to realize a lot of my personal career goals in a short span of time. And then I thought, you know what, I'm going to move to Los Angeles. Had an opportunity to move and had to start over again in terms of searching for the kind of work that was fulfilling. And it took a long time to be able to do that full time, to where I could not do anything on the side where I'm looking at my watch and waiting for 5 o'clock. And pardon me, I think that was the lesson. I think it was, boy, it is, and not that I ever took it for granted, but it is so much better to be doing the thing you're chasing, no matter how hard it is, than it is to not. And I don't know that this holds true for everybody, but I like to think that most people are chasing something, that there's something innate in people that makes them want to chase something. And that might be a job, it might be a hobby, it might be a passion, it might be a relationship, it might be an experience, it might be whatever. But that you have this desire to be doing, challenging, growing, learning.
That's tricky though, because I think I know for me personally, if I need to have, there's always something that you kind of need to have, the next potential thing. It keeps your fire stoked. And for me, I don't know what that would be necessarily, but this NFL gig, this is one of the things. I've had things in my life, and when you're in cruise control and you're enjoying yourself, there's never a better feeling. Sometimes when you start to, it can be grass is greener, or it can just be, I want the next level of my life. It's a double-edged sword, because it gives you the energy, or it gives you the drive to pursue, but it's also something that at times is that carrot dangling from the stick, and you feel unfulfilled, and it has an impact on your regular life.
But there is a difference between that I'm constantly chasing, and you get to the plateau and you hang out for a bit. So I think that's maybe a better analogy, that somehow, though, you are searching something at whatever station you are in life. So maybe you've got young kids at home, and it's like, you know what, I'm not going to continue pushing myself, giving 110% because I've got this other stuff over here. But that also becomes a carrot too. I want to be able to come home at the end of the day and not be stressed, and be present, and be able to spend time with the kids and the wife and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so what you're talking about is aspiring.
Yeah.
And it's fine and I think it's great to aspire. I do think that there are times where people, it becomes the grass is greener. You see it with the relationships too.
I think that's
there's
a
difference.
Yeah, I think there's a difference. I think it's more, and that's why I included things like hobbies and other pursuits in there, where it's, you like to cook.
Yeah.
And I bet you that every time you grill a steak, you're going to try to make it, this needs to be good.
Yeah,
because if it's not, I'm going to be disappointed. I know I'm capable of better.
Well, if you're not trying, you know what? If you're not trying to add quality in your life in some way, shape, or form, then you start to die inside.
I think that's more what I'm alluding to. It's not always, this job is, I'm always looking at the next job, and I'm not enjoying the moment. I think it's more, I'm motivated by some aspect of challenge and some aspect of a job well done.
And there can be a fine line between the two, because the motivation and the
self-defeating as well.
Yeah, and the self-defeating part is a problem. So, when I got remarried to my wife, I was 32 years old, and I'd been doing radio for 5-6 years, and or however long it had been. And at that time, I had a very successful radio show, younger guy. I didn't know this at the time. At the time, I was like, man, this is great. I married my best friend, the love of my life. She's fantastic. everything. I was so happy, cruise control. We ended up having kids. I had no problem with it. And it wasn't until Twitter came along that I really started to recognize the things I was missing out on and the opportunities that were out there. Now, it wasn't a bad thing. It was, I now had access to talk to different people who were kind of like me. So when Twitter was much smaller, and you could reach out to different people. And then I started realizing, I'm talented enough to do a lot more. And it became something that was pulling at me, and it didn't always make me happy. Like, it felt like something was missing. And I stopped being happy at the radio stuff because I felt like I needed to be doing more. I felt unfulfilled. And so it was kind of a negative to me. But it wasn't until I tried to get representation, or representation actually came to me after it was even before I got hired by the NFL Network. I realized I was older, and when you get older, in your 40s, it's harder because agents want people who can earn for them. I mean, it's business.
For a while.
Absolutely. So they like finding the young, the handsome Field Yateses of the world. I would represent Field
That's
Yates
on
in a
his business
heartbeat.
card.
Yeah, handsome Field Yates, and I'm a Field Yates guy. But I think I could have done national stuff at age, 32, 33. I think I could have gone the ESPN path. I was really hardcore into sports. I grew up, with Craig Kilborn and Kenny Mayne, and of course, Dan Patrick and Olbermann. And so I did sports. I did personality. I did, a comedic touch to it. That could have been what I want, but I didn't care about it then. I didn't care to chase it. And I didn't realize that's when you really needed to do it. But you know what? I was having a blast at what I was doing, and I didn't care about going national. All I thought about was, this is so much fun. And I was so content. And I haven't been as content as I haven't reached that level of content, because the more layers you add on with every kid that you add, with every extra responsibility, it's hard to ever reach that level of content, because you always have different stresses that are pulling on you. And it's a weird thing that I think you'll learn when you're in your 30 somethings. It probably hits different people at different times of their life, but there's, I think, a premium level of content where you don't worry as much about money because you got a job that pays you a decent amount. It doesn't have to be a lot, by the way, but your bills are paid. You're happy with the person you're with. You're doing things that make you happy, whether it's hanging out with your buddies or you go to the movies. Like for me and my wife, we used to go to the movies all the time. Or you go hit this restaurant and that restaurant, and concerts, whatever it is that makes you happy. And you should appreciate that time, because eventually life is going to catch up to you and you have stresses. And with every kid I have, there's a new stress. I worry every day about what's going on in society right now. It's really stressing me out.
Yeah, I think all that makes sense. I feel like when I say that, hopefully people have that desire, that challenge. I think for me, it's less, because what you're talking about is very real. That idea of you're never satisfied in a way that's destructive to yourself and the people around you.
Have you ever been that way?
Maybe not where it was infectious to those around me, but certainly where it's like, hey, maybe stop and smell the roses.
Yes.
Maybe enjoy.
So you've been, I think a lot of people are probably like that.
I think it's more that when you just take the status quo path at every step along the way, I think that the life most fully lived requires you to not do that on occasion. And I don't know how many, I think for each person, it's a different amount. And for each person, it's a different endeavor. It might mean that, maybe that hobby you should apply yourself more to, even though it's hard, because the value of the struggle, the value of challenging yourself, the growth and the end result and the journey and all of that stuff adds up. So I think there's some universality to that. And I think it manifests itself differently in people. And some people answer that call and some people don't. But at the end of the day, maybe that's why when you said before that you think you have a job that a lot of people would like, and people who have jobs that they don't love, they listen to you and you're an escape. It's because on some level, it's like, okay, I have to go do this to pay the bills for my kids, but at least I can live through Lance. That feeds me in some way. I think that speaks to that on some level.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But, I'm in a unique position in that I've spent the better part of my adult life in the public eye, in a way, in radio, just starting in radio, forget the NFL for a second. And people have gone through my divorce with me. They've gone through me having kids. They've gone through my wife. I asked her to marry me on a radio show, not mine, a different one where I was doing some football stuff on the same station. And I'm wide open about my life. Like for the most part, I will share all kinds of things. And I think it's one of the reasons that people see me as relatable, because things happen in my life that happens in their life. Here's the problem with that. The one downfall to that is it can become, and for me it has at different times, my self-worth becomes my show. So if I think people are kind of over the show, or if the ratings aren't where I want it to be, then it feels like a direct reflection on me, and that's not healthy.
Is there like a feedback loop that happens there maybe? And I think we see this with social media. You put the tweet out, you put the Instagram post out, and you expect the likes in return. And it's like, okay, I put this out, I get this back. I put this out, I get this back.
Yeah.
I can imagine on some level it's the same thing with the radio. I tell this story, I get this response.
Yes, it used to be phone calls. But see, here's the thing. When we stopped seeing the phones, me and my radio partner left from one station to another, and we were at the flagship station. Like, we helped really build sports radio in Houston in a way. And so we went to this new station, and we had this insane following of hardcore loyal listeners. But we had issues with our signal that was hard to overcome, like severe issues with the signal. And the infrastructure of the company wasn't great. But everything was so amazing. People were showing up, like huge turnouts at the event. We were creating a culture. And then eventually, when it started to trail off a little bit, which is natural, a hot restaurant eventually is going to cool down. It felt like the end of the world to me. I felt like, there were also things at play that were making the station not as good as it could be. And it felt very overwhelming because so much of my, I don't know if it's self-worth, but my identity was tied up in radio and how people liked me and how they liked the show, and how that manifested itself might be the amount of phone calls. Well, nowadays you just don't get as many phone calls. It's more instant reaction through Twitter. So you can't judge things by that. And I have at different times, at different moments of my life, I have looked at, I'm Lance Zierlein, the draft guy, or I'm Lance Zierlein, the radio guy. But I need to make sure that I'm always, Lance Zierlein, the husband, Lance Zierlein, the father, because that's really, it's a vocation, it's occupation versus vocation.
Well, and also that's where Lance Zierlein, the husband and the father, that's an investment that will pay off for generations to come. Yeah. Lance Zierlein, the radio guy, that's a here and now.
Yeah, but when it goes as long as it has, and people say, I used to listen to you, when I was in high school. I used to listen to you when I was at junior high. My dad was driving me to school, and now I'm about to have my first kid, and it's like, wow, that's
amazing.
And they say things like, I've really, I've grown up with you the whole time, and I've got my friends listen. My wife is a huge fan. I want you to meet her, and it's things like that mean a lot. It really does mean a lot to me.
I do, and I don't. I'm not a brain surgeon or a psychiatrist, although I did say it at Weston last night.
Right.
I wonder how much of that is also tied into the kind of the dopamine feedback loop, and I think that's a thing in social media, and I think it works similarly as what you're describing in the radio world, that whatever that feedback is.
Well, feedback though didn't have to be fans. Feedback to me could be if I'm making my co-host laugh. I'm an entertainer and a pleaser by nature. Okay. I'm also very self-aware. So I don't have that problem, which is a good thing, because I know my weaknesses and my flaws.
That is a husband. That is a good thing, though.
It is good. It's okay, because I'm okay with it. I know.
And as a podcast guest. Strengths and weaknesses.
I overtalk. Listen, I know my flaws. Okay. I'm fine with them.
But there's an aspect of that though. And this applies, I think, to life as well. Like people that are able to know themselves well, and to share who they are.
Yeah.
There's an intimacy that you build with the audience or with other people around you. And that appeals to people.
Because you're flawed. And they know you're flawed.
And it's disarming for others too.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't have to pretend to be something I'm not.
Exactly.
Around that guy. So I want to shift gears for just a second, since we are talking about dream jobs, and you say you have a dream job. I'm just going to spitball some jobs. I'm just going to make them up on the spot, and you tell me if for you they would be a dream job or not. So let's see. Netflix content executive in charge of choosing Netflix
Dream
content.
job.
That would be a long.
I would be incredible.
That would be a long business card.
It's a long one.
The executive of Netflix who chooses content. How about that?
Yeah, in charge of vice president of content.
Dream job.
Yeah, dream job.
Because
I feel like I know what's going to be good shows, and I like having the decision making there, and I like being able to. Look, I'm having a hard time keeping up with all the Netflix shows anyway. They're raining down shows. Netflix thinks you will like it. Every time I open Netflix is all in my ass about, well, you'll love this. You have 98% match. I'm like, Netflix, can you just let me finish, The Fall? It's not even a brand new show.
I'm still on season 2 of the Great British Bake Off.
Exactly.
Let me finish it.
Hey, this Delicious Ugly or whatever it's called with David Chang. I mean, I'm just on episode 2. Don't show me anything new.
I also feel like I'll be watching a show on Netflix, a series.
Yeah.
And I'll open up the browser, I'll open up the app, and that show isn't in the main list. Like I got to go search for House of Cards.
Sucks.
Wait. I've been watching House of Cards. Why is that not in my recently watched ready?
It should be in your recently watched.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's like I've got to go search. I've got to go scroll down. HBO's app is bad about that too.
Oh.
All right, so Netflix, dude, dream job.
Yeah.
F-14 fighter pilot.
Nope.
Because
no interest. Because vomit.
Negative Ghost Rider. The pattern is way full.
No, I can't do that. I don't like roller coasters. Why would I be a fighter pilot? I can't do it. Now, interestingly enough, my heartbeat doesn't raise one single tick. When I'm on a plane and it gets bumpy, my wife, who's afraid of flying, she is Queen Xanax when she flies. And for me, I'm like, this is awesome. She's basically going to pass out, but she doesn't. She's still nervous, even with her heavy doses of Xanax. And to me, it's like, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to put my headphones on and watch a lot of Netflix. It can get bumpy. She starts to immediately scratch my leg and she's still nervous. And me, I'm like,
chill.
I'm just like,
cool as a cucumber in a bowl of hot sauce.
Everything's going to be fine.
Sous chef at Per Se in New York.
So that's a tricky one because I know what chefs make and it's not much. People probably think these chefs are all loaded or it's not. And they don't stay in one job for very long typically. They bounce from job to job.
And apparently you don't get to eat what you're making.
No. How about that?
Like you have to give it to the diners.
The margins are super tight.
You have to give it to the people away. In the dining room.
Exactly. And you eat like a person who makes, whatever 26,000 they're making, whatever the case may be, 18,000. I mean, it's not much. Mm-hmm. They don't make much. And you're on the right path. Move me around.
Okay. All right. We'll come back to that one.
It's just elevate the position or not elevate the position because I don't want to be a chef. I need to be a sous because I need to learn.
Okay.
I just feel like New York but I'd love to live in New York, but I couldn't live the New York lifestyle.
Okay. What about this? Dog walker in Central Park.
Well, it's a lot of people watching, but I don't see how you could handle. Like dog walkers, I always assume have the 4 and 5 dogs on a leash. That sounds terrible.
And they also have to carry the poo bags.
You have to carry it. Yeah.
Around,
no.
Right?
No. Is that a trick question?
Okay.
I mean,
no. I'm just.
Why would that be awesome?
People do it. Maybe it's a dream job for somebody.
Is it though?
Caesar what's the dog whisperer?
The dog whisperer.
Yeah, that
Caesar
guy.
Milano.
Hey, yeah, he maybe that's his dream job.
Well, he's doing his. It has nothing to do with picking up anything. I don't think. And this time he's going to pick up his own poo. How did you get him to do that, Caesar?
I'm not even mad. How did you get in the refrigerator?
Yeah, exactly.
You ate a whole wheel of cheese?
I'm not even mad about that Buster or whatever the dog's name was.
Assistant script writer for a Hollywood TV show. So you're in the writer's room. That's the key. You're in the room.
TV show. Where's it going to be broadcast?
Netflix.
Okay, because if you said network, I'd say no.
We're going back to Netflix.
Because if you say network, because that's why. But there's nothing hot about network.
But here's where I think that would be a dream job. That might even be one for me. I don't think I could be the writer, but I think being in the room with the creative people and you're bouncing ideas off of each other and you're ping-ponging, that aspect of it, I would love.
I love being with other creative people, and I didn't have it for a few years of my career, and I was like dead inside because I like being around other creative people because it helps with your creativity. Like I wasn't having fun on the radio, but every time I would come out and do NFL Network stuff, like if it was at the Combine with you guys or in Culver City, it was great food for my soul because there were so many people who are really good at what they do, who are really creative, and who are just not just professional, but they were just highly intelligent at their craft.
Right.
And really skilled at their craft. And it was like, I don't know, it just kind of fed my soul. Being around people like that, like if you're at a job and maybe you don't love your job, but you love the people around the job, it makes a huge difference. If you like your job, but you don't like the people around your job, you're eventually not going to like your job.
Yeah.
And it won't be a dream job.
I think you're 100% right. I think the people around you may have a bigger influence than the job itself.
I absolutely think so.
Saturday Night Live cast member.
Oh man. Yeah.
Dream job.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause they're still doing a lot of creative stuff and it's still.
See, I think for me, that's the being in the room. You know, you're in the writer's room.
A lot of writing. Yeah.
You're with the creative people. You're with the writers. Also, I know for me, I don't think I could act my way out of a paper bag, but something about that style of sketch acting, that would be a pretty cool muscle to work out.
Well, let's assume if you're in that position that you are more skilled than what you think you are now.
Yes.
We have to make certain assumptions.
You've put in your 5 years of the Groundlings or whatever, and you've done your sketch training and your improv training.
So to me, working at Second City or whatever it is, Shakespeare Olympics. No, I can't remember what it's called. The other one in Chicago. I love improv stuff. I love to improv. I've created characters that have, unscripted, and I love doing that kind of stuff. That would be something that I would love to do. Once again, that doesn't really pay the bills. So if you told me I'm going to be in New York doing that and be a sous chef, I don't know if I can do both of them.
But there's not 27 hours in a day.
I'm doing a morning radio talk show host and writing 500 draft profiles.
Yeah.
So, I'm used to that grind.
The financial aspect is real, although in this dream job scenario, like the money's no object. So staff voiceover artist for Nickelodeon Jr.
Nope.
No.
That's
really?
Mark, that's a Markistic job.
You don't think doing like cartoon voices, like you could do that?
Oh, yeah, I think I could, but it's not a dream job.
Okay.
Oh, I know I could do it, but it's not. That doesn't really appeal to me.
Because you've got some pretty stellar.
I can do different
impressions and voices.
Yeah, I can do a wide variety, but that's why I'd rather be testing those out in the improv circuit.
Okay, I see. Yeah. Interesting. Because
I started
if
doing.
If they needed a Mac Brown character on a Nick Jr. show, he would appear.
Yeah. Well, as Ren, I'm like the little puppet boy that you can just activate. There's a lot of really good puppets here, and Ren and Stimpy and the Patrick guy that's always complaining. He sounds like a University of Texas alumni just complaining about a 10-win season. I haven't done Mac for a while.
$100 million a year doesn't buy what it used to.
Well, it's a really sad state of affairs that we're not able to win at the University of Texas the way that you want to. I haven't done my Mac. I used to do Oscar de la Hoya a lot and Charles Barkley.
What does Oscar de la Hoya sound like?
Oscar sounds a lot like this. Well, I can't believe that we're actually going to be boxing in the Great Western Forum. It's fantastic. I want to thank Budweiser, the king of beers, because Oscar used to always be down with trying to get every plug he could in.
Yeah, it's almost like he should have been a NASCAR driver at some point.
Yeah, he used to be the master of that. But so yeah, the voice. I actually started doing some acting 3 years ago.
And you really liked that.
Yeah, it was 5-minute plays. It's called the 5-minute mile. And the reason I did it was twofold. Number one, I felt like I was too stiff on television. Because on radio, I'm not stiff at all. But I saw myself and I wanted to be more comfortable. But I also wasn't being fed creatively, like around creative people. And I wanted to be around more creative people. Mm-hmm. And so I went, and these actors were all from Houston, and they were younger. And they were really creative, really good, and I had a blast. I mean, I had so much fun, and it fed the creative part that I needed to have fed. But it also allowed me to do something I hadn't done since like high school. something that I think that I've got some talent in, but not to the extent that they do. I mean, I really appreciate the craft, but I do like now telling my wife that I'm an actor.
Yeah.
I like to hold that over her. I like to say, as an actor, sometimes we'll watch something on TV. I'll say, as an actor, and it just pisses her off. It's my other new thing. It's watching the Olympics, and I'll tell her, watching bobsled. I said, I think if I would need at least 2, maybe 3 years of training, but I think I absolutely think I could make a U.S. bobsled team.
Here. I'm with you.
Are you?
Give me 3. I reached out to some of my buddies recently. I'm like, hey, there's 4 of us.
Yeah, but see, I don't actually believe that.
Well,
but it makes my wife mad. She goes, you could maybe do curling. That would be it. I said, you're right. And I added curling.
Throw curling in the mix. But let's be honest, not to knock the U.S. men's Olympic bobsledding team.
Right.
The 3 guys in the back.
I couldn't do that.
Like,
now you got to do the pushing.
You mean to tell me Saquon Barkley, you couldn't go get some other athletes that
100% could. Now you probably have to weigh a certain amount, maybe,
or maybe more, maybe heavy. I don't know if more weight's better or worse. I should have listened during the Olympics.
Yeah, I don't know, but
listening would have been.
That's
key.
My new thing. I tell her I'm an actor. You're not an actor because you did some plays.
What if you just pulled all the whole, darling, in the theater, and you just like fully.
You see what they're doing here? It's a very complicated methodology that we like to do. We set up the premise and then we double back.
I like the idea that you're mansplaining things to her, which brings up how funny it is to mansplain what mansplaining is.
Yeah,
to some that's double like.
That's a lot of that's what is it called? The Leonardo DiCaprio, not Enigma, but where you plant the dream inside of the dream.
Oh, Inception.
Yeah. It's kind of like an Inception.
It's the second dream. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I'd be remiss if we didn't mention by the time this goes to air, the Oscars will have come and gone. So do you have predictions you want to go on record with? Because dream job. Here's another one.
Yeah.
Movie reviewer for the New Yorker.
No.
Okay.
I don't want that kind of
movie reviewer for the Kansas City Star.
I don't want to have to write anything. I want to just do if you let me do numbers, I get to watch it and I say 4.7.
Movie reviewer 5. For
I don't want to write.
Rotten. No. You can review for the Rotten Tomatoes webcast.
Yes.
Okay. We're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
Got it.
Now that's better.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't want to actually have to be a writer because movie writers are really, if you really read some of the movie critics,
they use big words.
They are intelligent.
Ugh. And they've seen foreign films or their subtitles.
Yeah, they have to see everything. You don't like foreign films?
I'm joking.
I used to love foreign films, and now it's just I just got done watching 6 Prospects today. I don't know that if I want to read this one.
So foreign films for you are like a May through September experience.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, very much so.
Half of the year. Oh, it's foreign film season.
Now, I won't lie. I watched during my lunch break that I give myself, which is about 20 minutes, I managed to watch Darkest Hour. Gary Oldman, incredible performance as Winston Churchill. He for sure
better than John. Who's in The Crown? It's who's playing Winston Churchill in The Crown on Netflix.
I didn't see The Crown. I haven't seen The Crown.
Third Rock from the Sun. John
Lithgow.
Yes,
Lithgow plays Winston Churchill.
He's Winston Churchill.
Wow,
and he's wonderful at it.
Is he? Yeah. Well, I don't. They've got to win makeup because you can't recognize Gary Oldman at all. If you start thinking about it, he's done Drexel in what was must have thought it was White Boy Day. Yeah, empty. Whenever he opens up, Clarence, is it Clarence Worley? Clarence Worley.
So good. These are horrible impressions of Gary Oldman's epic work in True Romance.
Yeah,
by the way,
such a bad accent.
With the dreadlocks and the
Drexel
Jamaican drug dealer.
It was still hard not to watch. But he did that. He did Dracula. He was Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
Oh, excellent movie. He was also, I think, the coked up police detective in
The Professional.
The Professional, yes.
And then now he's doing Winston Churchill. He's done some. He's been out. Oh, Sid Vicious too, and Sid and Nancy. Gary Oldman was Sid Vicious from the Sex Pistols. So
There you go.
he's done some, he's been all over the place. And where's his Daniel Day-Lewis love? He doesn't get it. But yeah, that one's
When did he
going
paint
to.
with his left foot? That's what he's got to do.
Yeah, I miss Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah. Although he's got the movie this year.
Yeah, no, I didn't get to see it.
Yeah.
I wish I would have.
You didn't see as many movies this year, but do you want to make a pick? Shape of Water, I think, is
It's
gonna be the
supposed to, yeah, it's supposed to win. I tell you, a movie that I really liked that I watched was The Florida Project.
Oh yeah, I've got
Oh, my
the screener
gosh.
for that.
It is absolutely, it's a very unique movie.
Okay.
They take what is an extended stay hotel, which becomes basically just apartments in a really rundown area, and it's right outside of Disneyland. And so what they're showing you is, hey, here's, which one's Florida? Disney World, Land?
Disney
Which one?
World.
Okay.
Disney World.
Here's Disney World, and right outside is this. And this no one talks about. And the mom is super trashy, and we don't know where the dad is. And these kids at this basically apartment, they just go play they just go play, and there's no supervision. And as a parent, you're kind of freaking out. And it feels like a doc. It's not a doc, but it feels like a doc. But then inside the movie, you realize, man, they're having so much joy. And you just think, man, they don't know how bad their life kind of is right now. And these kids are being kids like we all were. And they're just having the most fun in the world. And the mom, the girl who plays the mom, I was blown away because she is so over the top street that she had to be street. Like you can't
act that well without having that be part of who you are.
Yes.
Yes.
There's no, I told my wife, I turned to my wife, I said, she's not an actress. There's no way, because this is too real. And you know what? I went and searched her after the movie, and she was on Instagram. She was just doing Instagram stuff. She had never been in a movie before. The director, Sean Baker, saw some funny Instagram stuff she was doing. I mean, she is sleeved up, and she's from New Jersey, I think, originally. And he saw her and reached out to her through direct message on Instagram. And she thought it was somebody trying to catfish her,
Absolutely.
but she decided to play along with it. And then before you know it, she's cast. And I'm telling you right now, I don't think she's nominated, but it is an incredible performance, not only by her, but also the little girl in the movie. And it's not a feel-good movie at all.
No.
At all. But it is a very unique movie, and I think it's one you should take a look at. It's not going to be for everybody, but I thought it was fantastic.
I mean, anything that's nominated it gets on the list of like, I need to watch.
So,
these,
Willem Dafoe is nominated for that movie.
okay, yeah, he I don't, what does he play in that?
He's a supporting actor. He's kind of the landlord of the entire
that's what
place.
I thought. So I want to come back to the sous chef thing because I struck out on the New York City sous chef, but there was something in there, some cooking thing.
Yeah.
Dream job aspect.
I don't know. So I've loved the Chef's Table series. I love watching food docs. I used to have a food show with Brian Caswell, who's a chef in Houston, who's a James Beard finalist. I've had some great chefs around the country and winemakers on my show. And I did that because it was a passion, because I loved it and had fun with it. I didn't get paid a penny, and I did a food show for about 6 years. And so there's something there. I don't know what it is, but I love the idea of being able to create. I think they're artists in the idea of how to marry flavors together and things like that. There's something about that artistically that I just find incredible. The ability to take vegetables and ingredients that I've never even heard of and just create this unbelievable piece of flavor is just really appealing. I would love to, and I don't look at it as somebody making food. I look at it as like an art form,
Right.
to create something that gives people sometimes a visceral response, and then sometimes it's a response that you never forget. When we went to Grace in Chicago, and the meal that Curtis Duffy produced, I'll never forget it. I mean, it was beautiful.
Every plate was a work of art visually.
Yeah.
From a flavor perspective. I'm with you.
And when you have those, and when you have that sense where you have so much flavor and taste, or something, where it's just everything is perfectly balanced, and it's just, and then there's a component where it looks like art as well. There's something special about that. But that doesn't mean that other things aren't great, that aren't artistic.
I'm with you. It feels a little bit like, between the love of movies and cinema and TV shows and narrative, and the different interests that you have, that I don't know if like ever making a documentary would be in your
No,
future.
I can make a great one.
But what would it be?
I can make a great one. I think, well, I've always thought that we could have made a great one. When I first started my radio station, 1560 The Game, I was like 3 months later, I came in. I had a non-compete I had to get out of. And all the stuff that went on there would have made a great documentary. I still think that...
Would this be like a 30 for 30 or a standalone outside unbranded kind of thing?
Here's one for you. NFL players and the depression they go through when they're done playing. I think it would be an incredible doc that people don't know about. When I was at the radio station 1560, I just told you, Marcus Coleman, who used to be a cornerback for the Texans, he played for the Dallas Cowboys, the Jets, went to Texas Tech. He started coming in once a week, and he would be our football expert. And we talk about the Texans. Mark's a really good guy. Loves EPL soccer, very outside of the box type, but you can't really put him in a narrow little, pigeonhole him as just
Just the football player, yeah.
Yeah. And then he started coming in twice a week. Mm-hmm. And we didn't invite him. He just came in. Then he was literally coming in every day. He wasn't getting paid anything. And he would, like, some days you'd go, it would be in the afternoon, and he'd be laying on the couch like asleep. And I just realized Marcus is really bored with his life outside of football. He was probably 34. Oh, and I realized, man,
prime years.
His life is, and I started to take stock of that. Well, I thought of it and I just kind of put it away. And I talked to Aaron Taylor, who's become a friend of mine, played at Notre Dame, former NFL offensive lineman, is currently on CBS Sports. And we were talking about, we were at the Senior Bowl like 3 years ago. And I was talking to him about depression after sports. Like, is that a real thing? How is that? He told me, oh, it's a major thing. He said, I had a drinking problem, a drug problem. And it was all because my identity was over. And he said, when you retire, you think, okay, I got all this money. I'm going to live forever. This is going to be great. I'm going to go fishing. I'm going to do this, that, and the other. And he said, almost every NFL player, it's the same, because he's had to go counsel guys. After the first year, you're okay. You start to miss a camaraderie. And by the year 2, you bottom out into a depression. Some guys go deeper than other guys. And you think about it, their entire identity has been tied to themselves as a football player. So when people don't love them, it gets back to some of what we were talking about with my own self, worth. When these people aren't cheering for them, the football player anymore, and they're just a guy and they don't have everyone loving them, and they're no longer the football player or basketball player, baseball player, whatever, but football, because the careers could be a lot shorter, it's a real problem, because some of them aren't ready to go out into the real world and get jobs, or they're not prepared, or they didn't see this coming. They didn't see the depression coming.
Right.
I think there would be a great documentary. It would take time to humanize the players who go through these struggles, because everyone, when you get a contract or you're a pro athlete, everyone thinks you're set for life and your life's so awesome and amazing. And what you find out when you're around some of these guys is the money really, it pays bills, but after a while, A, it will run out on you, and B, it really isn't going to buy some of what they want, which is identity and purpose. And you can have all the money in you. If I gave you $100 million today, you'll be happy for a certain amount of time. But then what's your purpose? Well, you got kids, you got a wife, you may have a purpose. But what if somebody doesn't have what they consider to be their purpose?
Even if you have, but see, I think again that speaks to that idea of that, and maybe that's a better way to articulate it. Purpose, that you have purpose and meaning, and whatever, however that manifests itself, whatever form that takes, that there's something intrinsic in the human experience about purpose. And so when you don't have it anymore, if it's not coming home and being dad, if it's not showing up on the field and blocking for your quarterback and getting the cheers and chasing the wins and chasing the rings, if whatever it is gone, what do you do?
Yeah. And if what brought you happiness, it can be that, whatever.
So maybe
that
that's
is.
the better way to describe it, is purpose. And it manifests itself differently with different people. Sometimes it's in the form of challenge. Sometimes it's in the form of achievement or accomplishment. Sometimes it's the form of presence and investment in people's lives, kids, wives, whatever. Maybe that's what it is. And maybe that's why you see almost a universality to the guys you're talking about when it's gone. And that drop off is significant.
Well, because they've been part of a team structure a lot of times, and now that team structure is gone. They've had friends and
they've been
camaraderie.
at the mountaintop.
And they've been to the mountaintop, so everything else feels like a huge letdown. And you don't make this money anymore, and it feels like a huge letdown. And you don't have this adulation, and it feels like a huge letdown. And I just think I actually try to get a filmmaker that I know in Texas to follow up with Marcus, but I think Marcus was going through a rough patch. But I think that would be, I've seen it, and I know what it kind of looks like, and I think it'd be an incredible documentary because I think the mental health, I think people are ready to understand now more than ever.
Right. The
mental health for athletes, and especially for men, it's never been great. It's just guys forever were in cultures where you hit it. You didn't talk about it.
I don't know how much of that is intrinsic in the male experience, nature versus nurture. I think you have a lot of expectations foisted upon men societally about purpose and productivity and utilitarianism, and it's not tied to some of the same things that it is for women. It's a whole different set, I think, of difficult expectations that they've got to deal with, but that it's still equally valid for guys, that it's what you're worth and what can you accomplish and what can you produce and what can you bring to the table. And I think for the athletes as well, where it's especially hard for those guys, many of them, is especially the ones that were blue chips from the time they played Pee Wee ball, is they've had people looking out, helping out every step of the way. And so as soon as the contract's up, I mean, you see this in pro leagues all the time. Guy has a bad injury and he goes from a superstar to a used to be superstar. Like that. And it's got to be hard for those guys to lose. Just like if you were a CEO and all of a sudden, and had everyone that was underneath you and you're running an entire business and you no longer have it. Or maybe you're a dad and you get divorced and you don't have, you don't have custody of the kids and you don't see them anymore and you're not dad, it feels like you're not dad anymore. It really can manifest itself in a lot of different ways. That's why I want people to recognize when I talk about that, it could be, and if they watched a documentary like that, they could see themselves. Because I think some of the best documentaries are when you can see yourself or someone else. Or when you learn empathy.
Recognize it.
Yeah, when you learn empathy for someone else that maybe it turns a light bulb on for you that you never had before.
Yes, because I think that is a problem that athletes, as the salaries go up and there's a greater chasm between the public, the fans, and the athletes, the empathy or even relatability. And the athletes a lot of times will bring it on themselves. I mean, let's just be honest with a lot of what they do as well, with the way that sometimes they act, and they're be very immature, and sometimes they're young with a bunch of money. I mean, it's a hard combination, but you'd be amazed at how many players were a-holes who will tell you they were when they had money and they were 28 and they were this and that and the other. And then when they are humbled by realizing they're also people and they're not king of the castle anymore. It's amazing how many guys are self-aware enough to recognize that. And it's kind of cool because it's redemptive in a way where you see, they recognize this too. And this guy used to be, tough to deal with, but now he's very cool. A lot of the guys in NFL Network, who you think are great, they might not have been so great to deal with when they were 27, 28, 29 years old, 26 years old. And now, and granted, look, they still are in a high profile job, but it's a little different now. You know what I mean?
I think, a key part of empathy is remembering and projecting humanity onto other people. And even if their circumstances are different or they handled something differently than you think you would have handled it in that situation, being a human is at play for both of you. And without
you're asking a lot now, Mark.
Yeah, well, I know, but not having been in that situation, it's hard to know. Not that I'm not guilty of those same projections and judgment.
Yep.
I think it sounds like a great doc. I'd watch it.
Yeah, there's something there that I'd love to do.
Sounds like it's kind of marinating a little bit.
Yeah, I'd love to do a doc about the process of what I'd love to let people in on what I have to do, because it's a lot. I'd like to do a draft. I'd like to do something called Draftnik, where the amateur draft fan out there who is obsessed and treats this like a job. I don't think people realize this culture that's out there of people obsessed with the draft who want to be scouts, basically, and what they do on their free time. I think it'd be a fascinating culture to take 3 or 4 different characters or people, and probably 3 that are very different, divergent personalities, and then bring them together in one doc to show all these guys love the draft and they love the idea of being an expert. And one might be on a message board, one might be on Twitter.
Yeah.
One might be a guy who's creating his own scouting service or whatever the case may be. But I think it would be very, very interesting. I don't know if it would play to a broad audience, but the people who know about Draftniks, I think you could have a very fascinating documentary.
It feels like you could fit producing this in right between the SNL evening shifts and the sous chef in the morning.
Yeah. And you got to hit me once again between May and really like October.
Right.
Is when I got to shoot this doc or get it going.
Yeah. When you're also getting all the foreign films.
Yeah. That's also the foreign films. And I'm trying to start up I've got a startup business we're trying to get funded. So I might be biting off a bit more than I can chew. We'll find out.
At least it sounds like a dream job.
I'm not going to be able to do the sous chef thing. Now that I think about it,
you're going to have
between Saturday Night Live and this doc and all the other things, I'm not going to be able to do the sous chef thing.
Well, and the Netflix gig too, because they expect they expect office hours.
Yeah, but we'll see if I can make that one work. I may not see my kids for 3 years, but we'll see what we do. It's just kids. I'm earning for your college.
Daddy's paying for that law degree, buddy.
Yeah,
don't you forget it. We're at an hour.
Yeah, it's fun.
Time flies.
Yeah.
You have a dream job to get to this week. We're in Indianapolis. This will air, like I said, later with the NFL Scouting Combine taking place this week. Last but not least, just go out on a limb. Who's the number 1 overall pick?
Sam Darnold. He's a quarterback. I think it's going to be a quarterback. When you look at all the quarterbacks, ultimately, I think he's going to be the cleanest medically and in every other way. And I think Sam Darnold will be the first pick. Cleveland needs a quarterback. So I think Sam Darnold will be it.
So quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, dream job?
Well, it hasn't been, but with
maybe he can make it one.
7 picks in the first 3 rounds, maybe that can turn into a dream job.
Hopefully not a nightmare job. How about that?
Anything Browns related has not been a dream job for quite some time.
If they pick Sam Darnold, will you jump in Lake Erie?
I won't.
I didn't think so.
Yeah, I'm not going to.
Again, a special thanks to Lance for his time. And if you want to find him on Twitter, he is at Lance Zierlein, Zierlein. And you can also see all of his NFL draft analysis at NFL.com/draft and also on the NFL Network. Also, I appreciate you tuning in. And if you want to hear more episodes of the Dream Job Podcast, you can on iTunes or Google Play, or get more info at marcustook.com/dreamjob. Please tell your friends, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Until next time, thanks for listening.